What is a health savings account? And should I have one?
It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
Hey, Money Guy family, it's your host, Brian Preston and Bo Hansen, here to go beyond common sense and take your finances to the next level. Check us out, moneyguy.com. Don't forget about us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We connect you with you wherever you are. So, health savings account.
It might be the single most exciting type of account out there. Is that fair to say?
Here's what I like. Triple tax advantage and sleeper retirement account. This is what we're going to be covering, and it's just exciting because. But let me set this up, Bo. The number is $275,000.
What number?
If this was Jeopardy, the question would be is what the healthcare costs will be for a retired couple from 65 on. So if you're a person 65 years of age until death, because we all know, unfortunately, medical costs. They accelerate when you get older because as you get older, things start, you need to go to the doctor a little bit more. You need to get procedures and other things. So according to Fidelity, that number is $275,000. So the question I think our audience is probably asking themselves, well, how in the world do we get the resources, the savings to make sure that we have that $275,000? And is there a better way to do it in a tax advantage as well as a way that we can get some growth built into this thing? So that's what I want to help you guys and build that bridge of knowledge to make sure you understand how these health savings accounts work. Because the first thing, I think we have to put this out there, you have to have a qualifying high deductible plan to even be able to set up a health savings account.
So meaning if it's open enrollment time and you're signing up for your employer's insurance, you might have a PPO option or you might have another Cadillac type benefit. You have to make sure you select the one that does have the high deductible, which tends to be the lesser expensive of the plans available.
It's lesser expensive, but that's because it also has usually higher deductibles, higher out-of-pockets. And here's the good news for you guys. If you're worried about this getting complicated, well, how do I know if it's a high deductible plan? They're going to tell you. Yep. Because there are some legal requirements to fit within the threshold of being a high deductible eligible plan that is qualified for HSAs. I even know when I was looking under the old Obamacare system when I was shopping for insurance myself, you could even sort by HSA plans, eligible or qualified plans. So don't try to get overcomplicated and trying to figure that out. Just go and sort by, is this HSA eligible? And that's going to let you know what the high deductible plans are. So let's get into when I say triple tax advantage. I mean, I just want to say booyah. That is just, everybody loves minimizing taxes as much as possible. Let's talk about what those three savings are. The first one, pre-tax contributions. That's right. Uncle's giving you a deduction for saving for your health and medical expenses with that pre-tax contribution deduction on your tax return.
What I love about that, Brian, is a lot of times for you to get a tax deduction for stuff, generally there's income limits. If you make over a certain income, have a certain level of success, you actually don't qualify for those anymore. With HSAs, there is no income limit. So you can make $10 million a year and you can still take a deduction for health savings account contributions.
No doubt. It is a beneficial thing for many, many people. The other thing, the second one is tax-free interest. Well, tax-deferred. Let's not get ahead of the cart, put the cart in front of the horse. But tax-deferred interest and investing earnings. Just like an IRA that's saving for retirement. If you put this money, you get the deduction on the front end, and then your assets are going to grow and work behind the scenes for you, your army of dollar bills, until you need that money. And then number three, here's where the tax-free is. If you use the expenses or use the account for actual medical expenses, it will be completely tax-free. That is the triple tax advantage. You've got tax deduction, number one, tax-deferred growth, number two, tax-free benefit is number three. That's huge.
I feel like it's a financial it's all your favorite things rolled into one. It's pre-tax like a 401k, it's tax-deferred like an IRA, and then it's tax-free like a Roth. It's a little bit of everything.
It's like a no-calorie, super great tasting donut is what this thing is. So let's talk about contribution limits for 2018. If you're a single individual, it's $3,450. For a married filing jointly or a couple, it's for a family, I should say, it's $6,900. Right. But don't forget, if you're over 50, you have a $1,000 catch-up contribution you can do.
An important note is, if your employer makes contributions on your behalf, because a lot of employers will prime the pump for you, that does count against the maximum. So if you're on a family plan and the employer puts in $1,000, that means that you, for 2018, can do 5,900 as opposed to 6,900.
A lot of people get confused. I will tell you, and I'm not trying to add to confusion, so make sure you understand the distinction. We're talking about health savings accounts. A lot that people have through their employer, they have what's called flexible spending accounts that they can use for, prescriptions and other things. Sure. We're not talking about that. And a lot of people get confused in the fact that those FSAs, it's a use it or lose it. The good news with health savings accounts, it is not a use it or lose it. This is something that can build for years. You can let the money grow for the future. And let me share for you, give you an example of what I'm talking about, because this is what I actually do for my own personal finances and my own healthcare needs. Because remember, we're trying to get to that $275,000. Right. Let's give an example of a person that puts in $5,000. So it's family coverage. Sure. They put in $5,000 into this plan, but unfortunately, they have about $5,000 of annual medical expenses. Okay. So there's two options that this person has. They can put the money into the health savings account, and then they can actually reimburse themselves. And a lot of the custodians that you can put your contributions to, they'll even give you a debit card. So when you go to your doctor, when you go to the pharmacy, you just swipe that debit card and it will reimburse you on the spot and pay for those things. So that person, that's option one, where you put in $5,000 and then throughout the year you pull your $5,000 of expenses. That's great because you had convenience, you got the tax deduction. But here's what you left off steps 2 and 3 with this situation. You didn't really give it enough time for it to grow. And, yes, it's tax free, but you got that tax deduction anyway, so it is what it is. But let's talk about option 2. And this is the nerdy money guy family tip that we do with our own stuff. I actually pay for my medical expenses with a rewards credit card. Okay. You're like, wait a minute. We set up this health savings account. And now he's telling me he's paying for everything with his rewards credit card. What gives? We set up this health savings account. Here's why. When health savings accounts were set up, they did not put a time limit on when you could ask for reimbursement. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Oh, I see where you're going.
What you can do is you put that $5,000 in there, you put it in the account, and then you invest it. You go put it into, you could, for example's sake, we could say you could put it in the S&P 500, you could put it in a target type retirement fund, you can put it in a balance fund. But needless to say, you don't take that money, you let it grow. And let's say you let it grow and it earns 10% per year. Okay. So Brian has put his $5,000 into this plan 10 years later. So if you multiply 10 years, $5,000 a year, I put $50,000 in it. Well, that $50,000 investment, remember I had $50,000 of expenses too, but is now worth $80,000 because of the growth of the account. I could then 10 years later, I still would have to have all my receipts. That's the one thing. We do have to be super organized to do this strategy, but I'm keeping all my explanation of benefits. I'm keeping receipts. I'm trying to keep and I have a very nerdy little spreadsheet where I track all this stuff. So I'm going to have great records. But so 10 years later, I'm able to submit the $50,000 for reimbursement. I get paid the $50,000 out of my health savings account. But guess what? It's worth $80,000. There's $30,000 that's going to continue to grow and work for me. And by the way, I chose 10 years out of the air. I just said, let's use 10 years as an example. It could be 20 years. It could be 30 years. I even looked it up because a lot of you guys had questions last time I mentioned this because we've done shows on health savings accounts. If your estate, after you pass away, because people say, well, what happens if you die? You just need to make sure somebody knows about this strategy because your estate does have, I believe, a year to pay to pay these things. So out of the health savings account. So make sure you let somebody know about this great saving strategy. But this is the way to really create a sleeper retirement account. So let's talk about HSA providers. Because a lot of you guys are like, well, who do I work with? Now, I want you to know, we're recording this in 2018. Who knows when you'll see this? Because this is going to be evergreen, and I think health savings accounts will be around for many, many years. So this list could change, but I can tell you the two big players right now is you have the HSA Authority, and then you have the Health Savings Administrators, which is the healthsavings.com website. Bo,
that's who we use. Yep,
yeah.
I use
and I think a lot of people use that one because it has a direct affiliation with Vanguard. If you go to Vanguard's website and type in HSA, it's going to take you through the Vanguard portal right to the Health Savings Administrators website, and it's good. It costs about the that you get access to Vanguard funds, but it has a monthly $3.95 a month fee.
That's right.
I actually use the HSA Authority. It's $36 a year, so we're really splitting hairs here on the difference in these costs. But it also has access to low-cost funds, no-load mutual funds like Vanguard and so forth. So those are 2 HSA providers you might want to go research.
Well, Brian, okay, so let's say that I work for an employer that makes available a high deductible plan and I do it, but the employer says I have to use their HSA provider.
If
Is that
they're giving
okay?
you money, you go where the money talks. I mean, that's what we're just giving you. I'm talking about somebody who's unaffiliated, has no obligations to anything. We're just trying to give you the money guy low cost option that's out there to get you the best bang for the buck. But take that free money if you've got an employer that's doing it. And kind of to close things out, here's the action steps if you want to make a health savings account work for you. Review your healthcare options to see if you even qualify for a qualified high deductible plan. Think about your upcoming healthcare and medical needs. This is not the ideal situation if you know, hey, my wife or my husband is, or even for yourself, they're going to have this big medical procedure next year.
Maybe
or
baby's
baby's on the way or something like that. Think about what you've got going on in your life, because I've gotten you very excited, all in a froth about this health savings account. But you've got to make sure that you don't have some upcoming medical needs that are going to derail this thing. Because these things work great if you can have a chance to let the account grow for a year or two without big medical expenses. It's a killer if you have to pay those out-of-pocket maximums in year 1 and 2. So make sure you understand your own healthcare needs. And then consider whether the triple tax advantage benefits of the health savings account will help you. Is it going to lower your current and future taxes? Is it going to build assets for healthcare now as well as in retirement? And then is it going to create another tax advantage pot of money that we can use for retirement? Because that's the other thing. I don't think I gave it enough love in the show, is that once you're over 65, you can actually use these accounts for not only healthcare and medical costs, you can use them for retirement.
Just pay ordinary income tax when you pull it out, right?
That is exactly right. So check these things out, guys.
We'd be remiss, though, if we didn't mention just one final thought on there. Just because your employer makes available a high deductible plan with an HSA, it doesn't always mean that's the best plan. We've seen this a number of times where you might have a very generous employer that really subsidizes an amazing plan. You want to make sure that you actually look at all of the options available to make the best decision. If you're someone who doesn't feel comfortable with that, doesn't know the best way to do that, maybe it's time to take it to the next level and reach out for some help.
No doubt. And I think that's a great point, that when we're talking about healthcare, it can get very complicated very quick. But I know there are some super generous employers out there. You do need to look at what your copays are. If it has a copay as an option, and the out-of-pockets, what your deductibles. Because there are some employers that they're hoping you take the high deductible.
That's right.
Because maybe they're super subsidizing. But for a lot of people, I think the way healthcare is going, healthcare is actually becoming where you have access to discounted networks more so than the insurance actually paying for your expenses. So, Bo, you are spot on. And this gets very complicated. Love for you to talk to us. Take the relationship to the next level. We can help you sort through those things. Thanks so much, Money Guy family. We'll talk to you soon.